All right. Hi, Mohammed. I'm audible. Mohammed. Mohammed, can you hear me? All right. Nice. So, shall we wait couple of minutes till the others are joined, or else shall we continue this session today? Shall we wait couple of minutes? Still, we have only two, Devon and. All right. All right, we'll wait a couple of minutes. If you have any friends in your Telegram groups or any other places, please share this information that we have already started the session so we can continue it in much easier manner. Right, thanks, Leo. Right. Till the others are joined, we'll continue today's discussion. So we,
Chemical,
yeah,
like are you trying to discuss portfolio to Dick Clark?
sorry,
Are you going to discuss portfolio to for Dick to Dick Clark? I mean,
portfolio two.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll discuss the portfolio two in the latter part moment because at the moment we have only two, you and Devon. So it's good to have much audience to the discussion. So we'll continue this session until the first half.
Because due date co close actually. So it's like very close.
Yeah, we'll discuss in latter part. I mean, the first part we'll discuss about the theories up
I
to some
mean
extent.
next Monday.
No, 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 no. Today, after 2 hours, we will discuss that assessment. That means around
So are
7:30.
you recording the
Yeah, yeah, I'm
lecture?
recording. Yeah, I'm recording it.
Because something I may leave the I may not attend the class fully. Okay.
Huh?
I may not attend the class fully. That's why I'm asking if you're recording
Yeah, yeah, I'm recording the session.
full session.
Yeah, yeah, full session. I'll be recording it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So basically, today discussion would be continuing related to the expressions and assignments and statements. So this is one of major component that we want to understand under this today discussion. Then we'll discuss about the statement level control and the structure. So these are the two major aspects that we are going to discuss, since most of the theories was already discussed and already uploaded in the course page. I'm not supposed to have any discussion related to theories or any other thing, but we will learn bit of practical aspects all of the under these topics. So what I'm going to do, my plan for today is initially I will go through practical aspects related to the topic, and next part, that means after the first 1.5 to 2 hours, say 2.5, no, not too much, so it might be 1.5 probably, we'll able to continue these assessment discussion, right? So that's one of key point that we want to discuss, continue the today discussion. So yeah, basically once it comes to these expressions and assessments, so these are very important aspects. Probably any given programming language, we do have these two aspects. If you take in general, if you take in generally what is an expression, it's an expression is a combination of one or more values. It's just for an example, 2 plus 3, right? So it's 2 plus 3 is an expression, so it's basically a combination of one. Usually it's like a set of values or variables we have. If it is in the very basic, if it is once it comes to very basic one, we can consider it as a very basic. Two values are uh, combined or added, subtracted, multiplication, division, or any other thing. So that's basically an expression. If we take an assignment means we are going to assign a value to a specific variable. That's the usual situation. As an example, if we take an assignment, we can tell x2, right? So whatever the programming language, I don't care about the programming language, regardless of the programming language. What happens here, the value 2 is going to assign to this x variable. But once it comes to this expression, it's much different. As an example, 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3. This is the usual situation of an expression. But expressions might be expanded up to a good extent based on the parameters and variables and any other things that related to this math or whatever the stuff that we are going to solve. So that's the basic concept. But usual situation or general people or in general students or usual students believe that expressions and assessments are much similar, but it's not really. As at a glance you can understand, assignments means you are assigning a value to another thing. It's not just to be one variable, it might be something else. Even the if it is take a programming language specific situation, as an example Python, so we can have set of values in here, then we can assign set of values in here, right? We have this option, tuples or maps or any other things. Or else we can think about a list or a list in Python, or if it is in Java, we can say it's an array. So we have set of values. As an example, if it is a Java array, we can define like this, right? Whatever the data type in here, then variable name, then we are telling a, this is an array. So we can give set of values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and so on and so forth. So what happens, set of values is not just a one single value, a sequence of all or a set of values are going to assign. In this situation, since Java is very uh, important, is very keen considered about these variable types, this is an integer error. But once it comes to a language like Python, so we can have a mixture of programming types, the types of variables. As an example, a string and in an integer and a float and something else like a boolean in one, and we can assign all of these things into the other. This is the usual situation. Now assessment is something else. What I want to emphasize in here, assignment is one thing, one aspect, but statements are, the expressions are something else, right? So that is one of important point to understand. I'll go some of practical things using Java, then I'll explain you what happens in there. In the other hand, once it comes to these control statements or logical conditions, we have much more uh, deep discussion in here. More specifically, if you take a situation like we want to control how data is flow from one place to another place, then what we can do is we can use these control structures or statements to control whatever a logic. As an example, very basically, we can check a given person's age is higher than something or lower than something. As an example, if we take, we can define integer age, right? We can define int age as we can tell 12. This is a simple Java program. Then we can tell if we can tell age is greater than 18, then we can give a system.out.println. I'm really lazy to write all the things. I'm just writing so system.out.println, whatever the print statement in here. Then I'm going to give an output like older man. Yeah, above 18 means older man, whatever the thing that you like. This is a control statement. So it's just a basic simple if statement which controls the logic or controls the data flow. And here there is one assignment operation assigns to this age. Then under this if condition, it's check the control, it's check the logic, a boolean logic is a true or a false. As an example, it's 12. Now this age is 12, right? So instead of age we can write 12. 12 is greater than 18, not really, it's false. So it's not, or it's unable to access to this scope. So it goes to this scope. If we have an else statement in here, then the else statement would execute in here. Think the age is not 12, it's 21. We'll assume it's 21. Now instead of 12, we have to check 21 is greater than 18 or not. If it is greater than 18, then we can print an output as old. In this situation, which is 21 is obviously greater than 18. Hence, it gives the output as alt. Because it's control the logic, control the data flow. 21 is greater than, yeah, obviously, yes, perfect, true. The final solution is true, so it gives the output as true. So it starts execution in here and it goes down until the scope ends. This is a very simple control structure. We have different kinds of control structures in very high level. We can divide into mainly two aspects. This is my classification, guys. It might be not a standard, but in generally, but you can think a condition that focus on a specific selection of a statement. In generally, I am going to divide into these situations as if conditions or as if else or any other thing related to if. The other one is switch, which is checking the perfect selection or a given value for what we call a selection, a given specific value for this selected key and a value, key a pair or something. It's not a key pair, it's just some set of values. We'll do some practicals, then we can understand much more. In the other hand, I would like to take it as loops. Loops are basically a lot of loops do have according to the language that we are using. But in general, I would like to have like basically loops with basic structure like while loops or precondition and post-conditional loops and relevant derivatives of these loops. As an example, in Java, we have for loops, or else we have for each loops, and so on and so forth. It's language dependent. So basically, it might be to have different kinds of things as an input or the processing stuff. So that's the high level recap for the theories that you need to understand related to this subject. These theories might be a bit annoying for you if you don't have any experience, but no worries, we'll give a try. Right, we'll give a try to get some understanding by practically implementing all of this stuff. But actually, guys, you know, it's very complex than you think. You need to practice a lot, and you need to do a lot to understand the whole things. If you don't know anything, probably it might be a bit hard, but no worries at all. You just give a try. After a couple of days, probably you can understand very well what you are going to what you have learned. I believe you have gone through all the course page, all the videos related to the subject or the topic that we are going to discuss today. And I believe you have spent sufficient time with some experimenting something related to the stuff. And I'm going to do some top up for the theories.
Can we cut?
Yeah.
Sorry, for disturbing. Okay.
Norris, what's the issue?
No, I tried to ask question regarding technical report. That's why.
Yeah, well, we'll discuss all of these assessments related stuff in the latter part.
When it comes to the grading application, can it be in any command prompt or can it be like not always be GUI? Can it or
yeah, we'll discuss the questions in the latter part moment. So first we'll learn some theories, then we'll go to the discussion after the break. All right. Right. So basically, this is a simple Java program. I just took it. I'll just give some of very high level description in here and there. If you don't have any Java programming experience, no worries at all. You just hang on and try. In the other hand, what you can do is now you have selected a programming language or whatever a programming language that much familiar for you. What you can do is you can experiment in that language whatever the things that we are going to discuss in here. That means if we are doing if else condition in here, you just apply the same thing, same concept in whatever the language that you preferred. You don't want to bother about this Java. You just try Python or Ruby or whatever the programming language that you have selected. It's up to you. And I will give sufficient time to you to have all of these experiments from your end. My main aspect is I'm going to discuss all of these theories, and then I will give time to do the practicals. So once I'm doing these theories, please hang on with me. And if you do have any questions, please raise those questions in any time, because this is a very small class, so I can handle it very well. It's not a big deal. So you can temporarily hold me and ask any question that you preferred, uh, and you can understand. If you do not understand anything, please let me know, then I can repeat it again. Probably I can explain bit much more easier manner too, because this is an undergraduate discussion, so I don't think so we have to go to the very basics and go through the discussion, because you have done very well programming, and you have learned a lot of languages and stuff. And in the other hand, this is a third year subject, so I believe that you are very well in programming and other stuff also. So I don't think so I want to go very basics and come, but we'll give a try. I'll go through some of the things in very high level, and I'll discuss, because I'm pretty sure much of many of the students are not much familiar with this Java environment, but somehow that's fine. This is Eclipse, which is an IDE. You can use any IDE that you preferred. My preference is Eclipse because it's very strong, very powerful. Industrial level, believe me, people are using these things. That's the reality. So Eclipse is open source, and it provides a lot of strong features for us to do programming in Java. I have seen a lot of people using Visual Studio Code for Java development, but I don't recommend it, because I don't believe all the Java files and stuff is inbuilt with this VS Code. So my preference or my recommendation is go for Eclipse. There are some other variations also like NetBeans and stuff, but I don't recommend, because it consumes a lot of RAM and other stuff. So the processing is required a lot of effort. And the other hand, some of paid to paid softwares available. I don't think so. We want to go for that kind of thing, because still we are students, and we want to learn. So we want to get some experience. So we want to get our hands dirty. So ultimately, that's the objective, right? So we'll do some of the things in here. So we'll go through one by one how these assignments and stuff are working, up to the detailed that we can understand. I'm not going to discuss any of very complex things, because this is not a programming class, but my objective for today's discussion is give a practical aspect for the theoretical things than going through theories and theories and theories again and again. Right. Before start the discussion, any questions that you have, any things to discuss, any questions related to the topic? More specifically, once you have gone through the course page, sometimes there might be some questions in your head, really hard to solve. Any questions, or any questions up to now that based on this discussion? No issues. All right, then we come to the very basic one, or the very basic discussion. First of all, I will show you how to create this kind of thing, unless you might be really worried about this. Once you download, if you want to, do I need to tell you how to download Eclipse? I don't think so, right? You just go to the browser and type Eclipse download, then there's a download link. I'll show you. Sometimes it might be better than explaining all these things. I'll quickly show you. Right, so go for Eclipse download, then you'll get eclipse.org. This is the official website, so you can go to that one. Then you can go for download 64-bit. Right, then you can see the download button here. Just download, that's all. There is no installation in here. There is no installation in here. It's just kind of portable software. So you just want to unzip it, then I'll show you. It's much easier for me. I will show you once you download and download it, you will get a zip file with the name. Then you will once you unzip the file, you might get this kind of a thing. I'll show my screen. All right, so this kind of so I have downloaded and I have extracted these files, and I'm using a bit more older version, guys. Sometimes you might use newer version. This is one of older version, which is much easy for me, but you might have much more latest implementation. No worries at all. You can go for the latest one and experiment it. I mean, latest stable. Don't go for canaries and stuff. It might be tedious task for a beginner. So for a beginner, just go for a stable software package, whatever that in here. Then all you need to do is once you unzip it, you will get this kind of a file. Then you can double click and open it. There is a small icon in here which is known as application. You just double click it, then it automatically pops up. Then they're asking where to store all of these files or the directory as the workplace. Then you just give any location or keep the standard or the default location as it is. That's all. Right, that's all. Very basic, very easy, actually very easy. If you got any confusions, please let me know. In the next day I will definitely help you to sort it out. Right, now once you download it, unzip it, create the location, and once you start it, this might be not the screen. There is a small initial welcome screen and stuff. You just close all of these things, no point at all. Then what you can do is you can start a new project. Just go to file, new Java project. Then you can give a package name, whatever you want. There are naming conventions and other stuff. Well, I'm not going to I'll share the entire screen, probably that makes sense. I will share my entire screen. Right. So, well, where is my Eclipse? Right. Give a project name. We can give test application or something. There are some standard naming conventions and other stuff. You just go for all of these things. I don't want to bother about all of these things just now. And I'll keep all of these information as default values. We'll keep it as it is for me. But if you want to do any configuration changes, you can do any configuration changes. No worries at all from my end. Click finish. Then they're asking, do you want to create an info Java? So I don't want to create that one. So I'm not focused on that. Once you create this new project, you can see it in the package explorer. So it might be in here. Once you click this small arrow button, you can see there are two things in your package. One is JRE system libraries. There are a lot of jar files in here. So I'm not going to discuss any of these things now, but I'm going to focus on this SRC. SRC means the source, shortened form they have used for source SRC. Then Just right click, then go for new class. Class is a blueprint, right? I'm not going to all of these things in detail, but it's just the basic thing that you want to do. We'll give a name like uh, animal, animals or something. They give some additional information for us. They are giving warning for us. Don't use the default package, but I'll keep it as it is. Mm, one important thing that you want to understand is you want to give a specific tick in here, because this is the main package that main class that we are going to use in this program. If you do not use this one, you have to manually type. I'm really lazy, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep a tick here and I'm going to finish. Right, now we can see it generates animals.java file, which is known as public class animals, and automatically creates this public static void main string args statement. Don't bother about this statement. That is the main file. You just think that's a key, right? If you don't know anything, you don't want to bother about anything, you just keep it as it is. For our discussion, we don't want to bother. Once you learn very well in Java what is public, it's an access modifier, what is static, it's a specific instance situation, and void means there's no return type. This is the name, and this is an argument set of parameters that we are going to pass, and so on and so forth. Args, lot of things are there. I don't want to bother about, even you don't want, right? We'll come to the discussion now. Here you go. I'm going to add what I have done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a comment. Actually, I have added this comment by pressing Control and forward slash. That's how this comment was generated. I believe you know what is a comment and what are the value of these comments, right? So it's just for giving additional information. Those are not executable, right? Okay, we'll come to this discussion and we'll start assignments. Right. We will start with a basic assignment. What's the basic assignment that we can do is we can define a variable and we can assign a value, right? Is that so? Yes, of course. Right, we'll add int x 10. Now you know why we have used x, right? The math impacts influenced us, right? We have discussed last day why the programmers using these variable names, single uh, variable names, right? We have discussed last week what was happened, why we are using these things, and why what we have to do, right? So you don't want to bother about those theories if you don't know knowledge at all. Come, we'll see. Now this is an assignment. Right, this is an assignment. What happens in here, this value 10, guys, can you see my screen? I'm using Java IDE. Guys, can you see my screen? Right, thanks. All right, what I have done here, I am going to use this value 10 to be assigned to a variable named x. The data type of this variable is an integer. That means this x can consist only the fulfilled or can store only values without without point values or decimal values, right? This is an optional situation. This is a language specific situation, but These three components, a variable name, an assignment mark, and the value, are really important regardless of the language. These three are very common. Right, how to get the output? Right, this is the statement that we are going to use to give an output. If you are much familiar with Python, then you might use print to give an output, or console print. Similar to that, Java uses the system.out.println. What is this big statement? Don't bother about that all. Right. For now, it's just like a print statement giving the console output. This is the console. It prints in here. That's all. Don't bother about anything. I'm going to add X in here. Right. Now what I have done, I have assigned a value to the X variable, and I'm going to print whatever the value assigned to X. We'll execute it. To execute this one, I can click this small button in here and gives the output in this console as 10. In any case, if you do added double quotes in here, you might unable to get an output. This is a very common, like FAQ, right? Like an FAQ, a lot of students asking this question. Whenever if you have added these double quotes, you do not get 10 as the output. Instead of, you will get the output X, right? I'll show you. See, the output is X. The reason behind is, in here we do not try to print the variable X. We do not try to print variable X. Instead of that, we have used to print a string called X. I think you got it. We have used double quotes. So Java understood this one as a string. Okay, but Java is thinking, oh my God, this is a string variable. So it's a string. So I want to print the string variable as it is. Whatever the stuff within this double quotes, it would print as it is. Got it? If you want to print just the value of this variable, you have to use the variable name as it is without doing any modification. Okay, we'll execute one, right, perfectly. What if we can do something like this? I'm really lazy. I'm going to copy this one and paste it in here. Right, now initially we have defined a variable called X, and we have assigned value 10 to this X, and we have printed it. Now what we are going to do, we are going to use extract same X, and we are going to assign a value called value 12 to this X. Got it? Now we are going to print this X value. We'll see what are the outputs in here. The outputs are 10 and 12. 10 means this is the place that you got value 10. And this is the place that you got value 12. Okay. What happens in here, line number 8, the 10 value is assigned to X and it prints the value in here. At this time, that means once it comes to line number 9, the value for assigned value for X is 10. So it prints the value as 10. Since it's a variable, variable means something that you can change. So since it's a variable, we could able to add a value than the original value that we assign. That means a new value can be assigned to this variable. Hence, we have added 12 to this X variable. Sorry, we have assigned 12 to this X variable. Now, once it comes to this line number 11, it prints value 12 because we have changed this variable, the value of this variable. We can do again and again, we can change to anything. Right? We can do anything and we can print these things because these are variables, right? We'll see some of constraints and blockers or changes or language specific information also related to this assignment operation. Now we have defined X. I believe you got what is this assignment, sorry, assignment, this assignment variable, right? What is assignment? Assignment to a variable. Any questions, guys? All good, right? Now in here you need to understand clearly what we have divided here is a specific integer type, a variable called x, but the type of that variable is an integer. We have defined it. This language, that means Java, do not allow us to change anything to assign anything assigned to this x variable than an integer. As an example, I could comment all of these things for now, right? So I don't want any of these things now. Adding variables. Whatever stuff, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this 10 into a value 10.0. At a glance, 10, give 10 exactly same to 10.0. Is that true or false? Value wise, it's perfect. There's no logic. We are agreed. 10 means 10.0. There's no logic. If you take any number of zeros, it's exactly same. But once it comes to Java, see, it's all of a sudden, once we change this to 10.0, then they are telling, sorry, you can't do this situation. They are giving an option for us. If you want to perform this operation, you want to cast it to this value into integer, or else you just change this x to double. That means, since it's an assignment operation, we have RHS and LHS, right hand side and the left hand side. We have to change either side. That means if you want to keep it as an integer as it is in here, we have to change this value to integer, type of integer. To perform that operation, you can cast. I'll discuss this cast a bit after a while, right? So what happens in here, I kept my integer part or LHS as it is, left hand side as it is, and I have changed the right hand side. I kept the value as it is, but I have casted it. That means I have changed, I have forcefully modified the value to an integer. Since very lazy, we'll give a print in here for these x. So these are comments, guys. Those are not executing. We'll execute this one. Perfectly, it's 10, because the reason is this 10.0 is converted into an integer. That means all of these decimals are negated. Now we'll change it to 10.9 and we'll execute this one. Still it's 10 because we have cast it into an integer. So it's 0.9 or whatever a value is, sorry, is not a big deal at all. All of these things are removed and it's casted to an integer. So this is one of a high level or a brief for the casting also. Casting means changing the type. Right. The other option is we have to change LHS. If we want to keep RHS as it is, then we have to change LHS, left hand side. See, this is the original version. They are giving another option. Now this is not an integer. Instead of that, this is a double. This is a double. So what happens in here? It gives this double value. Okay, if you want to keep it as it is, you change the type of x. The type of x is currently it's an integer. Okay, you just change into a double. No problem solved. It's 10.0 as it is. Now this is not an integer at all. It's a different data type. It's a double value. Since we really lazy, we'll get system.out.println and we'll execute this one, and we can say 10.0. That means the decimal values was considered in this situation, whatever the value is. Now this is not an integer at all, it's a double. It's like modified the scope of our work. So you have either options. You can do whatever you want. As a developer, you have full freedom to do any modifications to right hand or left hand. But generally, there are a lot of issues whenever you are trying to casting. So you have to be careful if you are going for casting. Casting means changing this right hand side. There are some constraints, restrictions, and stuff to change all of these things. But if you're changing the data type, there's no issues. It's changing into the compatible type. This is an assignment, and one of consideration or the limitation or the work that we have to focus on this assignment operation. Some of programming languages like Python, JavaScript, we don't want to bother about this type. It dynamically changes the type of this variable. Hence, we don't want to bother at all. If you want a small experiment, I'll quickly open my Visual Studio Code and we'll do a small experiment on that also. Right. Created a simple IPython file. I believe you people are well in this Python environment. Somehow we'll get the same thing. We don't want to define the type. We'll define x to 12. Then we'll print x. All right. We'll execute it's 12. If you want to do the same modification like previously what we have done in Java, so it's 10 and 12. Right. We'll execute 10 and 12. What if we change to 10.0? Now previously Java blocked the story. No, you can't do, because we have strong type. A type is very important in Java. But in this case, we'll see what happens. Perfectly, no issues at all. It executes 10.0 as it is, 12 as it is. Now I have a question. What are the types of this X? Main type, do I correct? Sorry. Type of X, right? I'm not sure. All right, we'll execute. Yeah, well, see what happens in this situation. X is a variable. The value of x is 10.0, and we have printed this 10.0 without any problem. If we check the type of this variable x, because of this assignment operation, the 10.0 is a float value. So this x is a float. No worries at all. It printed perfectly as a float. Again, I'm going to change this same variable name like previously in Java. This 12, the value of 12 is going to assign to this X variable. Now you can see it's literal 1, 2. Right? Well, something not that you have seen probably. It's a variable 1, 2, 12. Now it is at all. We'll go for this X. Yeah, well, 1, 2, something. Don't worry. Right. Print X. The type of X is an integer. We'll do a small modification for this. Yeah, well, no, we'll do it later. For now, as a conclusion, Java requires to cast or change the data type to proceed if the data types are mismatching or it's not compatible. If it is a language like Python, we don't want to bother at all. It's working very well. As an example, if we perform a simple operation, print x plus 12, perfectly 24. If we go to here, right, cut out all of these things, see perfectly it's 12 plus 10.0, it's 22.0. At a glance, no worries at all. As a general conclusion, you could understand, okay, whenever we are using assignment operation, we have to be careful the language specifications. If the language is a strongly typed language, or in simple terms, if the programming language is really concerned about the type of the data or the data type of the value, then we have to be very careful. Even this also we have to be very careful because it's a program. But generally, these things, these languages do not focus on this programming type or the data type. It's just allow us to do a lot of modifications. So the freedom is much more. Again, in the other hand, there are some of issues also. We'll do a small experiment on this. We'll take input now. We'll take student name, right? Student name. We'll assign input. And, your age will go to age, student age. Right. Age, then we'll print student age. Yeah, well, we'll execute this one. Then I want to add a value of 45. I'm 45 years old, so it prints a 45. For some reason, everyone entered age a bit higher than, so we realized we want to reduce by 10. We'll do that operation. We'll execute this one, and usual ages we have entered 45, and something gone wrong. Something gone wrong. All of a sudden, assignment operation is perfectly happened without any problem. If you want to confirm, I'll confirm it again. See, these are the language specific things that you want to understand very well. I'll add my age as 45. In here, the input age, right? Enter your age. I have entered my age. This 45 will assign to this student age. Then it prints student age. In the next line, there is a simple operation is going to be happen. We'll see what happens in here, right? Enter. Well, printed my age as 45, but unfortunately I can't perform an operation because unsupported operand types for string and integer. So since we haven't defined the type in here, we thought since we have learned in here, it's automatically changing for an assignment based on the value. Based on the value, the variable type is changing. The type of the variable is changing, whether it's an integer or a double or something. For this situation, this is one of very good implementation. Yeah, very well. It just as a nice job. So it changes, added the values and stuff. But a situation like this, a person do not have experience, then now this is a complex question. What has happened? My God, it assigns as this value and it goes to here. Well, it goes here. Now we are getting an error. The reason behind is whenever you do an input, the input is a string. Whether the user entered an integer or a double or a float or a whatever, it understood as, or it assigns as a string. So you can see reading a string from standard input. You got it? Reading a string. So the person or the developer, if the developer is a young or no idea or a beginner, it might be a confusing question. How to solve this question? We can go to the previous situation, what we have learned in Java. In Java, we have two options. One is casting it. The other one is changing the data type in here. In this situation, to change the data type in here, can we do any modification for this side? No. The reason behind is we are unable to specify in this case for now. But once you are very advanced, you can do some tactics for all of these things. But for a beginner, we'll learn like this. What we can do, we'll tell this is an integer. Right? We'll tell this is an integer. And if you just hover over, now you can see this student age is converted into an integer. If you want to do, you just go for print the type of this age, then you can see it's an integer. But if you take the previous situation, it's a string. Previously it was a string. Now since I'm casting it, now it's an integer. Now if we do the same operation, if we add 45, perfectly my new age is printing as 35 because of this casting. These are common things. Now once it comes to this language appreciation, you have to specify your language, how these assignment operations are working. How these assignment operations are working in different conditions or different situations. There are a whole bunch of different combinations like this. Whole set of things are there. So you have to learn very well, right? You have to learn very well. You have to understand in detail all of these variables and these assignment operations. As a hint, you can apply the same things for your final portfolio. All right. Any questions? All right. I believe that you got a simple introduction on these assignment operations and what is a variable and data type, how or what is the basic syntax of these assignment operations. Once it comes to these assignment operations, we have arithmetic operation, assignment operations, bitwise, logical assignment operations. A lot of things are there once it comes to these assignments, but you just think in very high level. You don't want to bother a lot, right? You don't want to bother a lot. You just think, okay, this is an assignment operation which assigns a value to a variable. But once you are doing this simple operation, there are complex logics behind the scene that controls your work. Mostly it's language specific. If you understood that sentence, it's more than enough and very strong to handle the rest of the things. I took two programming languages and I have given experimental experiences for you, how the assignment operation works and what are the different things, or where we need to be careful and what happens in here and there and so on and so forth. That covers very high level discussion related to this assignment operation. If you do have any other questions whenever you are doing some important research and analysis or whatever the learning curve, wherever you are learning curve, sometimes you might get into questions. You feel free to ask me any question and let me know, then I will definitely help you. Right. Now we'll go to the next important point for today's discussion. The next important point that I want to emphasize today is how these operations are working. I'll go to my Eclipse again. Right. We'll learn about these operations very well. In generally, rather than these operations, I would like to start with the expressions. I'll start with a simple expression and how it evaluates. How the evaluation is working from right to left or left to right, or how this complex story happens in here and there. Right, we'll see. I will get a simple example in here. Now I have 10. What I'm going to do, I'm going to assign another variable, name as 5, then 20 as the value. Then we'll do int sum is going to x plus 5. I believe you are much stronger now up to this line number 9. Line number 11, what happens in here? Summation. Sum the values of x and y. What happens in here? We have x and y. Value of x is 10. Sorry, the variable x do have a value 10. And this is y, the value is 20. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add 10 plus 20. 10 plus 20. Then this 10 plus 20 is assigned to this variable called sum. If we print the value without any problem, it could sum up these two x and y and it gives the output as 30. Says 30 because 10 plus 20. It's 30. Clear? All right. Now what we can do, we can take into a different level of this discussion. Right? We'll do a simple operation like this. X plus y multiplied by 10. And in the other hand, I'm going to do another operation. This is sum 1 and this is sum 2. I'm going to use parentheses in here. I'll show you. parentheses are going to added, right? I'm going to add parentheses in here. It is something that you know how these values are evaluated in mathematically. In mathematically, you know how it evaluates. But once it comes to programming, we have left side or right side. That means the evaluation is going to start from right side and evaluate up to here to sorry, starts with, if it starts from left, then it goes to the right, or else it starts from right and then it goes to the left. You have to keep in mind different programming languages using different aspects, different kind of mechanisms. You don't want to bother at all because language does everything for us. But if you want to develop something else, as an example, something much more advanced than using a language, then you could understand all of these concepts very well. Right, somehow we'll execute, then you can see totally different answers are in here. The reason behind here is that since we have these parentheses, what happens in here, x plus y means 10 plus 20. Initially this 10 plus 20 was added, now it's 30. This 30 multiplied by 10, hence it gives the value, put value as 300. Perfect. Now the next situation is bit more different. In this situation, what happens, what happens in here, x plus y multiplied by 10. Now the value of y is 20. So multiplication is much more powerful than an addition. Hence, I think you know about math, right? You know the sequence or the order of these mathematical calculations are happening. Hence, what happens in here, y is multiplied by 10. Y is multiplied by 10. This is the first execution in this statement. Here it's y 20 multiplied by 10. Now it's 200. Then it added to x. Now the value is 210. That's how this 210 is generated. Do you got it? This is one major consideration in mathematical expressions or evaluating mathematical expressions. You have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. We have to be very careful the type, sorry, the sequence or the order of this equation. Specifically, like most of the complex things are handled by the programming language. So we have to be very careful to give all of these instructions for these instances. If something gone wrong, it's gone wrong. It's very complex. Got it? In the other hand, there are right to left evaluations and left to right evaluations and right to left evaluations are there. We'll discuss it in the next week as a theoretical component, not as a practical component in today. We'll discuss how these evaluations of left to right and right to left happening. I mean, next week, in the sense we don't want to wait until next week. We are doing lecture on Monday, so we'll discuss it on Monday, the cover-up session. So at that time, we'll discuss what happens in this theoretical thing behind this left to right and right to left. So practically, you don't want to bother a lot. The practical implementation is whatever the programming language handle for us. As an example, if you do the same thing for Python, I'm really lazy, so I'll copy paste it into Python. Do I get an error? Yes, of course, but don't worry. Solve it quickly. Guys, I'm deleting some of these things, semicolons, spaces. Python is very sensitive for all of these things. For the tabs, that means it's sensitive or space sensitive. Right, we'll go for Python. Well, we'll print someone print some do. It will execute perfectly. Now changes 300 and 200, 300 and 210 are the outputs. That's why I told in practical implementations, you don't want to bother a lot of these left to right and right to left implications. But we learn the theories if you want to develop some compiler design or something much more advanced work. Sometimes it might be really important at that time. So we learn these theoretical things in next session, how things happen. But in this situation, or the practical situation, the practical space, you don't want to bother a lot. Right. I believe you got some understanding about this simple operation. What happens in this a simple operation or a simple expression? What happens in here? Any questions up to now? Anything you want to clarify? Any questions? Sleepy? Are you guys sleepy? Then you can have 10 times jump in your same place. Done? Good. Yes? Yes, Angitan. Question? Sleepy?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing.
Yes.
Sleepy?
No, sir. No sleeping, sir.
All good.
Yes, sir.
Good. Yes? Any other? Sleepy? Question? Not sleepy? All right. Good. We'll go. Right. Now we discussed about some of aspects related to assignments and how it working, how it goes, and so on and so forth. Well, right. Now, once it comes to these assignment operations, we have a lot of sorry. Once we have these expressions and operations. I want to go a combination of these expressions and operations because expressions are very basic and it's limited. But if we added operations and stuff, we'll see we have very large set of operations in here and there. We'll discuss how and where these things are going and how it works and stuff. Generally, this is a very simple operation. We have mathematical operations, we have logical operations, we have a bunch of operations, bit shift operations, and a lot of things. Similarly, we have operators to do operations. As an example, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and or for logical operations, we have what we call these bit shift operations and stuff in different things, like large set of things are there. I will give very high level, or I will discuss very high level things with you, how these things are going in here and there. Well, come, we'll see. I will add a basic string operation, an interesting story. String operation. Probably the rest of the things I'm pretty sure you have learned very well in every language: AND operation, low operation, short circuit and short circuit O, and how these things happen. Well, I'll show you some language specific situation in Java, right? Pre-incremental and post incremental operations, how these things are happening. Very interesting in there. But before that, we'll go for string operation. Well, it's complex work. Yeah, well, because strings are immutable objects. Those are not a data type, right? Those are not a data type. It's an immutable object. So if you don't know anything related to these immutable operations, no worries at all. Well, perfect. Ignore it. But one of basic operation that I want to show you, which is known as concatenation. I have discussed the theoretical things in the last lecture, last time, but we'll do some practicals in here, how these implementations are going. As an example, we'll give string f name, first name as then we'll give, sorry, go here, semicolon, we'll add string last name, we'll add, right, good. We'll go for a combination or an adding operation. Guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a string full name as if name plus L name. Well, something gone wrong? Not really. Well, something gone wrong. We'll do a simple situation. I'm really lazy for these things. Actually, you have a shortcut, sys out. If you go for sys out and control space, it automatically fills all of these things. I'm really lazy to do that one also. That's why I'm just copy pasting somehow. Right, we'll copy paste this full name in here. Usually I'm copy pasting these variable names. You know the reason, guys? I have a lot of instances come up in my life. I have a lot of experiences because of misspelling or the spellings are incorrect. Sometimes a capital simple or some letters are missing. A lot of experience that I have. So what I'm doing is whenever if it is a variable, I'm copy pasting. Not because of the laziness, but because of the security of my life or secure programming. Right? So it's very important to keep that in your mind also. Always try to copy paste these variable names. It's not totally laziness to secure ourselves. So unless we have to face a lot of issues after a while somehow, right? We'll execute. Probably we don't want all of these math operations. I'll cut all of these things and I'll put it into here. I will share this file with you at the end of the session, so you can reuse all of these things later on. Right, here you go. I have first name and a last name. I'm going to add the first name and the last name. Then I'm going to execute this one. Right, perfectly. I'm getting a name. Yeah, well, I'll add a space. Perfectly. Right, now is at all. It's a nice string combination, but the consideration or the whatever the thing that we want to understand in here is Java strings are immutable objects. That means these are two different objects, sequence of characters combined together, and this is a one single object. This Manisha is a one single object. So it's like a solid or a kind of a stone. It's stone 1 and it's a stone 2. These are two stones. That kind of a thing that you have to be, that kind of a thing that you have to think. Once we have these two combinations, since we can't combine two stones, right? Because those are two, I think, cubes, very strong cubes, solid cubes, right? Solid cubes. Then we can keep nearby together perfectly, end user could not see there are two things. An end user see these are one single object. I will give a simple example. Think your door or window. You can see a big frame, right? It's a big frame, a solid frame, but actually there's nothing. But actually, what are the things in there? Different size of pieces of wood combined together, and an end user see it as a one single frame, but it's not a one single frame. It's not combined together. As an example, we can't melt it together and combine. It's just keep it as a frame. Yeah, well, it's working very well, but those are two or many kind of different pieces. Similarly, Java objects are performing same kind of operation. What happens in here, we have one object called Manisha, the other object called Kadera. Those are two separate piece of woods, but we can combine together. It's not melted out and combined, but as a solid object, it keeps us together, but it works very well. This is known as concatenation, string concatenation. This is a language specific situation. But this language specific situation is very common. This operation is very common. Whenever a language uses or gives this opportunity as an object, this is a very common situation. So whenever a language uses these kinds of strings, what happens is they extract same thing. I think you got it. Any questions? Is that too complex? I don't think so. A string concatenation. A string concatenation. Combine two strings. But in this case, this integer situation, it wasn't the story. What happens here? 10 converted into ones and zeros, 20 converts into ones and zeros, then perform the operation, then finally we get an output. That's a summation. In this situation, it's a different story. This is a string 1 or an object 1, object 2, combined object 2, but those are two nearby objects. Still, those are two different things, but at a glance, we can see it as a single object. All right. So this is a simple string operation. We have much more operations like slicing. We can have searching, replacing and stuff, but I don't want to go for all of these instances. Now, I just want to give a high level story because people believe, or the student could, any of student can believe operations are only for numeric things. I want to break that concept. That's why I have added a new concept or new thing to your head. Strings also do have operations. This is an example, string concatenation. Don't believe only for numeric things. As an example, this is very common, right? Any number, multiplication, division, anything, modulus, whatever the things, these are very common. That numeric values, handling numeric things are very common. But once it comes to practical environment, we have to deal with these things too. String concatenation or slicing, this is very common, right? Okay, this is another concept that I want to emphasize today under these operations, expressions, and whatever these operators and combinations of assignments and statements and so on and so forth. There are a bit more detailed things, details that you want to understand, bit more details that you want to go through. I'm pretty sure you need to research on different kind of things. Now, for an example, I have used just an integer, but you have Boolean, byte, short, int, float, long, double, char, lot of data types with different combinations. As an example, you just give a try for, instead of string, just give for char. Just give for char. Usually gives only for one single, right? And it should be like this. It's more different story. than you think, and give something. Let's say the char. Well, seems they are not allowed us to. They are asking to change to char or change the time type to int. Come on, unbelievable. What is that? Right. What is that? I'm going to add two char values m and d together. See, M is a char, it's a character. D is another char, another character. I'm going to add this F name and L name in here, right? Then it asks the compiler, sorry, IDE asks to change it to an integer. So I have changed to integer to fit my story because I'm really worried with this casting. Instead of casting, what is the best is to secure ourselves to change the type in LHS. So I have changed the right hand side integer and finally I executed it. I got something totally different. I got 177. It's not M or D or neither, right? Something a totally different time. That's why I told we have to research a lot, specifically like a language like Java. We have a lot of variations. We have a lot of variations. Now I have changed one thing and given an appetizer for you. Oh my God, it's different, right? It's different, right? Yeah, it's very interesting. You have to research a lot what happens in here. You have to learn a lot. An additional hint, plus point, right? Plus point. Discuss all of these things in your what we call this. What is that? Report, portfolio, right? Your report. Discuss whatever the language that you have selected, how these operations, operands, and stuff is working, how the combinations, different kinds of combinations are working. Specifically, if you have selected C sharp, there are a lot of variations to discuss. Lot of variations to discuss uh, to write down in here. A lot of experiments that you can do because it's very detailed language like Java. If you have selected C sharp, it might be a nice experience for you to do all of these things. Even the other two languages do have, not like C sharp, but very well they have some combinations. So do these kinds of things, experiments, and just give like a couple of lines. This is the story that happens in here. Explain. That's it. I'm giving some hints for you for your final documentation to be strong and what, sorry, your portfolio, right, to strong. But well, we have discussed about variables, assignments, and we can go for these operations like subtraction, adding, multiplication, division, Boolean operations, AND operation, O operation, lot of operations and stuff is in there with shift left operator and stuff, but I'm not going to discuss all of these things today. But I want to emphasize one more language specific story in here. I take all of these things and I'll take it in the latter part. I comment it to not to execute, right? I'll give a name operations. Operations. Right. Assignments. But I'm a student, one of my greatest lecturer. He has copy pasted all of this code into a text file and share with us. Respect him forever, right? To all of these things. I have modified it since I'm really lazy. I'm doing everything in the same code file I'm commenting. Right, come. We'll discuss an interesting story again with you. Well, I want to discuss an interesting story in here like this. See, this is language specific. Again, I'll show you why it's language specific and advantages, disadvantages and stuff you can discuss later on. we'll take an integer called x. I'm sorry guys, I'm really lazy to write the variable names, fancy variable names, instead of just use the math oriented work. So I'm going to use x as it is. I'll give a simple variable, a value as 2, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to x plus plus, then I'm going to sys out x. Who can give the output? X plus plus. Answer. Anyone? All right, now is what happens in here, this value 2 assigns to x. Then I'm going to do x and I'm going to add 1 to the x. X plus 1, what we expecting is 3. Isn't it? We are expecting 3. We'll execute and see the expectation as it is, the 3 is getting in here. Well, the problem, no problems at all. I'll do a side modification for this story. I'll take this x plus plus here and I'm going to add this x plus plus here. Now we haven't done any modification. We have kept as it is. The operation is as it is. We'll execute the program and we'll see. Well, now it's 2. Why it is 2? This is the complex story that you need to understand. Why it is 2, not 3. Previously it was 3, now it's 2. The reason behind is this operation is post incremental operation. This is a language specific. Oh, most of the languages do follow. Probably we have discussed all of these theories behind a few weeks back. What happens behind the story, but practically you should understand. This is x plus plus. That means we are going to add 1 to x, but after the execution. But after the execution, as an example, I'm going to print x now in here. We'll see the output. Now it gives 2 and 3. The reason behind is this x plus plus operation was executed, or operation was happened after the statement, or the statement ends is required to modify the value of x. All right, we want to add value in here after the operation. That's why in here x plus plus. Now this statement executed. Now if we take this x, perfectly the operation was happened, then after this x is going to execute. Well, it's giving 3. Perfect. But in this situation, it wasn't happened. The reason behind is still the operation was happened, but modification was not impacted for x. The modification was happened, yes, of course, but it was happened after the execution. Right? After the execution. Hence, it starts with, sorry, it gives the output as unexpected 2. Now you know why it's unexpected and what was happened. I believe it's clear and you got the whole story of this x plus plus. We'll do some more operation similar to this one, and I will stop from there. I'll add x plus plus to the front, which is known as pre-incremental operation, and will execute x here. As we expected, this operation added a 1, so it's 2 plus 1, so it's obviously it's a 3. As expected, the 3 is coming as the output. Well, we'll do this same modification that we have done previously. We'll add plus plus x. We'll add plus x and we'll execute. Anyone? What is the answer? No idea? Well, nice. What happens in here, operation was happened before the value is assigned, hence still the value is 3 because 1 is added before this operation, or the x is assigned to this value. The state is changing before the statement of system.out.println is starting. That means this execution 1 plus x, 1 plus x, previously x plus 1, this x plus 1 plus operation happened after the statement, but now 1 plus x, so it's forcefully we are giving a preconditional situation or pre-added. You should get 1 at the beginning, 1 added to the x, then do the execution. Got it? That's the whole story of 1 plus x. So I believe you got this pre-incremental and post-incremental. Shall we do a small exercise on this? It's very interesting. If you can do a small experimental exercise, I will give a small exercise for you in y 3. Then we'll add, yeah, well, we'll do exercise. Right, we'll do like this. Y equals to x plus 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 x plus y plus plus. Print y. All right, I will give a couple of minutes to you, not very long, just 2 minutes, probably 2 or 3 minutes maximum, to give the answer. Quickly solve this question, guys. I will give 2 to 3 minutes to solve this question. All right. Anyone got the answer? All right, I got one answer. Well, we want y system.out.println y. So we want only y. Thanks. We got one answer. Others? All right, no worries. Yeah, well, anyone do have answer before the execution? Right. We'll see execute and we'll see the answer something that nicely it's 9. Perfect. So I got one answer which is 100 out of 100. Full marks. Thank you, student, for the answer. So it's nice experiment. If you have done this one, you have understood what happens in the here, what happens in here, what happens in here, how y becomes 9 all of a sudden. It's a big complex process. It's a big complex process happens in here, right? So I'm not going to explain you. You need to explain to me probably earliest as possible. You can drop an email or send me a message how it becomes 9. A clear explanation should give to me. Then if there's some issues, some issue, I'll definitely respond to you. I'll definitely update you what is the misunderstood point in your explanation. All right, because this is something should come from your deep. Right, that covers the most important discussions of most important points for today's discussion related to the operations assessments and stuff, but there are a lot more. Probably you can go to up to slide number 14 in the course page, and you can understand much more things related to these things. We'll go for control logic, the flow control, how the control is going in here and there. I'll take this one also, and I will share it with you later on, so you can get it. I'll use the simplest form, but it's very powerful. So x equals to with 12. Be an integer. What I'm going to do, the syntax of this condition of if else, is very simple. If, then we have to give the logic. Logic in the sense, whatever the stuff inside these brackets should be evaluated, and the final output should be a Boolean value. That means it, sorry, question. Any question? Right. So we'll take x as a condition, x greater than 0. Right, x greater than 0. This is out. Good. Right, it's good. We can print as good. X is greater than 12. That means good. What happens in here? If this is the statement that we want to evaluate, simply 12 instead of, this is an assignment, 12 is assigned to x. Now what happens here? This is like 12. 12 is greater than 0. True. Since this is true, it comes to this scope. The scope starts from a curly brace, opening curly brace, and ending from the ending curly brace. In between that, whatever the stuff inside here would execute it. Whatever the stuff would execute it in here. We'll execute this one and it gives the output as good. In the other hand, shall we do a small modification? Instead of 12, shall we add minus 12? Minus 12 is less than 0. So once we executed it, there's no output at all. That means the program would not evaluate it inside this scope. It's not evaluated inside this scope because the statement is false. Since it is false, it's not executed at all. Now, from the programming perspective, without any output, specifically situations of false, we want to give some output or we want to get it, because whenever something true or the other side it might be false. Both sides can be happen to given any logic. So it's our responsibility to add a situation to execute whenever the logic is false, because these are control logic, so sequential controls. It's blocking the statement. Now what happens in here? We are going to add else. We're going to add else. For else means we don't have a logic. Why we don't have a logic? Whatever the stuff falls for this logic, that means whenever it generates a false value inside these brackets, the program starts to execute inside this else scope. Program starts to execute this scope. Got it? Right. Now we'll see the output will give back. Now, either side. If it is greater than 0, it gives good. If it is less than 0, we don't want to tell, because false means obviously it's less than 0. Okay, we'll execute. But we have true or false. If it is true, it starts this scope. If it is false, it goes to this scope. What if it is 0? Execute and see. It comes to bad. That means greater than means not assigned value. That means it's not starting with 0, it's starting with 1 greater than 0. In this situation, right, in this situation, if we give 0.1, 0.1, what could be happen? My question is, we want to add a decimal value 0.00001, right? 0.0001 to this value, and I want to evaluate that. What could be happen? Very simple question, guys, but your answer should be very vigilant and wise, very careful. My question is, if it is 0, it's evaluated as false condition. See, it's bad because we haven't assigned an equal sign in here. Hence, it starts from immediate value after the 0. So my question is, as the immediate value, I have selected 0.000001. What is the output? Or what is happening in here? Anyone? No idea? This is a very simple question, guys. 0.00001. It gives a compilation error because the incompatible types. If it is 0.000001 means it's not an integer, it's a double value. So the immediate value above the 0 is 1. Correct? So it starts from 1. If it is integer. If it is a double, the story is different. If it is a double, the story is different. Okay, now this is the if else condition. How this if and else conditions are working in here. If the condition is true, it goes to here. If it is false, it goes to here. We have different variations of this if else. As an example, we can tell something like this. Integer x is greater than 0, 10, 0, then we can tell if, again I'm telling a specific situation, x is greater than 50, then not good. Something I'm just randomly adding strings. These are meaningless, right? Now this case, x is greater than 0. Then again I'm telling else if x is greater than 50. Now something gone wrong here probably. The situation is like this. I'm checking any given number. 10 is greater than 0. True. So it evaluates this one. So it's not going to any of these things and executing. What if I added 110? Now x is greater than 0. True. But actually I want to come to this scope. 110 is greater than 0. Yeah, well, something gone wrong. Isn't it? Something gone wrong. In such instances, one solution is that you can change the order of these things. The more broader and more narrower things can be changed. This is one solution. You can change. Now If it is above 50, then it comes to this one. If it is not, then you can go for this one. Or else you can go for ranges. As an example, you can go for 0 greater than x and x is greater than 50. Again, we can go for another range and do something like that. Then perfectly it's narrowed down the scope. It perfectly narrow down the scope, how it works. Sometimes it might be a bit complex, but nowadays at all that you can understand these things later on by doing some sort of experiments. Right. So now it's 7:30, guys. So as expected, I'm planning to discuss the question paper now. I'll discuss the rest of the practicals in next lecture, probably Monday, and I'll finish all of these things in next day. So since you want to do this assignment and you want to utilize this weekend for the assignment, I'm going to shift to that assignment. After the assignment discussion, we'll come back to the lesson again and we'll continue the discussion. Right. I'll take my any questions, guys, up to now? Anything that you got confused? Something complex? Something really hard to understand, or any other thing? All good? No questions? Nice. So what we are going to do is we are going to discuss the lesson again instead of discussing the paper, because less number of students, it might be impacted. So we will discuss the subject, or else shall we continue the discussion for the assignment, guys? What do you think? We'll discuss the question. Whatever. Anything for me. All right, we'll continue the assignment. Yeah, we'll continue the assignment. Probably then you can utilize your weekend for this one. Yeah. So we'll discuss this one. Yeah, this is very easy assignment, guys. Like, you don't want to spend hours. It's just probably very easy one. You can do it in very quick and stuff. So it's again the second part of the portfolio. So from modules 5 to 8, and consists of number of short answers and other short exercises. This portfolio submission should be completed individually, so you have to do it as an individual entity. Please don't share your answers with anyone. Your answers, marks, or any other things, it's strictly prohibited. I'm telling again. Please don't share your questions, sorry, answers or marks or any other things with others. It's strictly prohibited. As an example, if someone is telling this one has done the assessment where worst than myself, that means you have shared, you got the answer script of someone else. That means you have copied, or you have you got the someone else answer script. Means both of you are getting into a big trouble. So it's a serious situation. Please understand, guys. Please don't share your answers with any others, even your best friend, with your best friend. Do it alone. It might be right or wrong. Nothing will happen to you, right? If it is wrong, you'll get a bit of lower marks. That's it. Nothing else. That's all that happened to you. But if you are sharing the answer script or marks means it's a big circumstance. Sometimes you have to redo the entire work again. It's very painful. It's very painful, right? It's very painful, and you have to pay a lot to do the whole module again. So to avoid all of these painful things, please don't share your answers, guys. Please do it very well alone. You can do. Let's see the first question. Question number 1, 4 marks. Using the standard order of precedence, that the stuff that we know here, the operator and the order is given, order 1, 2, 3, and the operator is given in here, the meaning is given in here. Probably you know this one very well. Write the result of the following expression using associativity indicated. So the associativity is indicated in here. The expression is 5 plus 5 multiplied by 3 exponential 3 subtracted and 4 exponential 2 divided by 2. As per my experience, guys, the students getting into a big trouble because of these exponentials and divisions, exponentials and multiplication. So I'm pretty sure this within parentheses you can, because you can see the it's first order. The operation is much easier, right? It's much easier. We have experimented this evaluations very well even previously. But sometimes this exponential and division, exponential and multiplication might be a bit complex for you. In such instances, be very careful and do the work. The question is arising like this: whether I want to 5 multiplied by 3 and do the exponential, or else I want to do 3 exponential 3 multiplied by 3. This is the question that you are facing. Right? This is the question that you are facing. I'm pretty sure that's the question that you are facing. There are solved questions in the course page. Please give a try before you attend to the next Monday lesson. I will do few more theoretical clarifications or questions related to this left to right associativity and right to left associativity. How to do manually, right? How to do manually, because as I told you, as I demonstrated you, these are very easy things once it comes to practical environment, because you don't want to bother with it's right to left or the left to right. But theoretically you should understand how to focus or how to calculate if the precedings are given. Okay, so it's very careful. You should be very careful to understand how to focus on this left to right and right to left associativity and how it works and so on and so forth. So give a try and attend to the next session. So probably then you can understand much more than, and you can fix some of issues if something gone wrong. Basically what you need to do is you need to write the result using left to right associativity, and the other hand right to left associativity. You have to start left to right or to right to left associativity. This is very basic, very easy question that you can do. Just do it very well. Question number 2. This is set of variable names that given for you: A, B, C, D, E, and the types are given: string and a float, and a integer, string and a float is given. Integer, like something, and set of values are given. String, 2 strings I can see, and 2 float values I can see, and 1 integer I can see. A, B, C, D, E values are here. Languages that support mixed mode expressions using cohesion to implicitly convert the data type of a variable when needed in mixed mode operations. Right? Using the following cohesion rules and variables, write the results of expressions below and indicate their data type. Now some of some of rules are given for you. These are the rules. Numeric strings are converted into integers. That means if you have a numeric string, it converts into an integer or floats. If a quotes is a string, something here. the result of operation between an integer and a float is a float. It's given another rule. Whenever we have an operation in between float and an integer, the final result is a float. Result of operations between two integers remain integer. It's truncated. Integers, floats, and numeric strings can all be presented in an expression. So some of cohesion rules are given for you. These are very simple rules for you. You don't want to bother a lot. Probably you can do it easily. Right? So what you have to do is you have to clearly understand whether any of rules are breaching or not. As an example, whether I can do this multiplication or not. My usual experience, or my general experience is students are getting into a big trouble whenever there's a string. Other than that, I don't think so it's a big deal, because floats and integers are very simple. You can handle it very well. But once it comes to strings with a float and an integer something, that time you will get into trouble. You are getting a lot of issues. You are getting a lot of problems in that time. So please be careful. All you need to do is you need to take a multiplied b. A is given here, b is given here, then 3, d is given here, a is given here. It's just assigning different values and check whether you can evaluate it or not based on these expressions. That's all. Sometimes there might be an error. As an example, if you are unable to take this execution properly, then the result might be error. If it is an error, the result data type is an error, obviously. If you have a result, as an example 10, then you can write the data type. It might be an integer, sometimes it might be 15.5, then the result type might be float or something. Again, it's a very basic question. Give a try before you attend to the next session. We'll do a couple of questions related to this one also, because this is again a bit of theoretical thing, and you can do it very well and get the full marks easily. Now the next question is, now image language that does not support mixed mode expressions of any kind require explicit casting of data types. The casting syntax is C style or type before the variable, assuming the same variables as above. Write the results of expressions below and indicate their data types. If an expression is invalid due to mismatching data types, write error as the result and the data type, and underline the operation where the error occurs. There are few of underlines here, guys. Probably it's something a typo, something gone wrong, because something here will take it to none. Probably we can take underlines. I'm not sure whether it's working or not somehow. Well, it's worked. Right? As an example, the error is in here. You are unable to perform this operation. What you need to do is you need to select this one, then you can underline it. That's very easy. Probably you can highlight and underline in a different color with a different size. That might be much easy. You can underline it. I'm sure my underline is not working for some reason. Somehow that's fine. Wherever if there's a problem, then you can get to the result as error. It's clearly telling error, and the data type as error. Any questions up to now? This is very easy because support mixed mode, so you can do a lot of modifications. You can change the types. Here the issue does not support this mixed mode operations. So you need to be careful, because whenever if it is not allowed, it isn't allowed. So you have to be careful how these operations are performing. Something gone wrong, you have to highlight it where the error is. Then you can write here an error, here an error. Any questions up to now, guys? No questions. All right, then I'll continue. The next question, a theory question. Describe what is an activation record is. It's just very basic theory question. You can directly write and describe the things contained in an activation record instance. Assume a language that supports non-local variable references and subprogram nesting. It's very basic and very easy. If you can give an example code or something, if you can draw something, then you can get much more attention than just adding a lot of text. The best thing is describe with some diagrams, some images, some infographics. So those kinds of things might be really valuable. Uh, Differentiate or emphasize your answer than just text. But if you are really lazy to add all of these things, you could simply perform these operations. No worries at all. Well, we'll go to the question number 6, which is focused on subprograms. We'll see. I'll discuss this one. This is mostly discussing in week 8 content, but I will discuss what happens in here and stuff. Then we can discuss again. Given the program framework which supports subprogram nesting, below the activation record instance, sample below, complete the 3 diagrams to show the content of the runtime stack at the points included during execution of the program. Show all local variables and parameters and use arrows to illustrate where dynamic and static links point. Very easy question. Sometimes it might be complex for now because we haven't discussed any of these things, subprogramming and stuff, subprogram nesting and stuff. Monday we are going to discuss this one, what is this subprogram and how this nesting is going on and how it works and so on and so forth. So if you are a bit confused with this question, you can keep until Monday. Probably Monday we are going to discuss these theories, so you can understand very well. Then probably you can answer, or else you just give a try. You just give a try and let me know what are the issues that you faced once you're solving this question. So Monday we can you can understand very well and you can go through with these things very well. Whatever, if it is bit complex, no worries at all. You may learn the theories in the course page. Everything is given you, but we'll do some more theory, but in an applicable way. So probably then you can solve this question very well. Well, question number 6. Question number 3 is missing probably. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think so. Yeah, question number 2, 4. I think it's again it's some silly mistakes. I say small mistake, but in the numbering, I haven't added the total. It might be 25. If it is not, let me know. Then I will inform to the relevant parties to do relevant modifications. Question number 6. In what way is static typing better than dynamic type checking? We have discussed last week or 1 week before that. What is this static typing and dynamic typing, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of these things, and very well. But always you can research it very well, and you can find much more interesting information, so you can share it with us. So it's much easy. Again, a theory question, you can get full marks easily. Question number 7, it's MCQ question. What is the only part of the variable descriptor which remains consistent each time a value is assigned to an implicit heap dynamic variable? I have discussed last week what is this stack and the heap and dynamic variables and how it behaves last week. It is so last week or one before. I believe this is a very basic and very easy question to answer. It's just a very simple MCQ question. So I believe you can do almost all the questions except this one. This is the only part that we want to discuss or cover in week 8 theory content. Rest of the things that you can do, it's much easier. So very simple, right? All right, any questions? Easy paper, right? Easy assignment. Any questions, guys? You feel free to ask any question, any clarifications if you have. Yeah, tell me, any question? All good? No questions, all good. Nice day. Well, what we can do, we'll do a question. I'll give some of conditions for you, right? Some of conditions you can use any programming language, your preferred programming language. Then you can write a simple code and share it with me. This program is required only assignment operations, if else operations. That's it. Right? If you have much more complex mechanisms, no worries at all. No worries at all. But I'm doing just a very simple thing. I will share the statements by chat. Right. Here you go. The question is shared in the chat. You can experiment it, then you can share the answer with me. You can drop an email to me, or else you can share the answer in the chat, whatever the preferred method. Don't take a lot of time, probably 10 to 15 minutes. It's more than enough to solve this question. So you can take up to 10 to 15 minutes and give the answer. Once you complete it, share it with me earliest as possible, guys. I'm here. Right? Once you complete it, share it as earliest as possible. How are the progress, guys? Have you done, completed? What is the language that you have selected? Yeah, preferred language is okay, whatever. It might be Java, Python, R, Ruby, anything. Yeah, how about the others? I found one answer here. Good, thank you. Interesting. Yes, others, how about the answers? Still doing, or you want more time? What is your idea? Still doing? All right. Uh, nice. So you can take bit more time and complete the rest of the things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss one more aspect in flow control. So we have discussed few of if-else conditions. There are a lot of variations if-else, nested if-else, if-else, ladder, different kind of if-else conditions are there. So I'm not going to discuss in detail of all of these things, but in generally, I have completed if condition. There are a lot to learn, guys. Make sure to go through and learn much more. Specifically, you can experiment and give a lot of things in your answers. Sorry, what we call this portfolio exercise, and do much more things, do much more experiments, and share your experiences in there, and it might be really interesting. Last topic that I want to discuss today is the switch condition. There are different arguments in this switch condition in different places. Regardless of that, I'll teach what I learned and what I experimented and what I got experienced. So if someone is arguing for different thing, no worries at all. If you believe that's perfect, you believe that's right. For my aspect, I'm not using switch case for integers at all. Once it comes to these logics or conditional situations, we have continuous logics and discrete logics. I'll teach you what is this continuous logic. Continuous logic means we can divide or partition our logic into different phases. As an example, 0 to 50, 50 to 100. Likewise, we have different partitions. In such situations, my general approach is using if-else condition. We have ranges, partitions, different portions of the logic. According to the logic, I'm going to use if-else condition. If we have discrete conditions or discrete logics, as an example, name is Saman, name is Amila, name is Avi, name is Aruna, then there is no range at all. Got it? There's no range at all. It's just a direct value, a specific value. In such instances, I'm using switch case. Now, the switch case is not in all the languages. Some of languages do not have switch case at all. In such situations, you have to use if equal to the name, Sama. But once it comes to a language, you have this switch condition, switch control statement, we have an opportunity and added advantage to use switch. Now, I believe you know this if condition very well. You know there's a range of something, but sometimes switch you haven't learned. We learn switch thing. Switch condition. I'll teach you what is this switch condition and how it works. Switch condition, right? We'll write string, same thing, string name as we'll give someone. Right, I have given the name as Saman. What I want to do is switching Sorry, might be complex for you. So it's WITCH switch. Then within switch, within brackets, I want to tell what variable goes here. Now, once it comes to if condition, I think you can remember if condition, I told inside here there should be a Boolean value, the final evaluation, whatever the strings might be there. I don't care about whatever the things inside there, but the evaluation after performing all the operations, the final output is a Boolean. In this case, something not a Boolean could be applied in here. Usually, my approach is using a string for this switch. As an example, in this case, the variable name is going to here. Switch the variable name. And I want to define the scope as usual. How to create these discrete values according to the values that can apply for this variable name. I'm telling again, there are different values that can assign for this name variable. As an example, for this time it's Saman. Next time it's Nuan. Sometimes it might be next Manju. Kasun. Any name can be applied here. The cases are these values. So I'll add different cases. Case, I'm telling Kasun. Then I'm telling what is the thing if it is Kasun. Good boy. Right? Similar to that, different cases might be there. One is Kasun, one is Saman, one is Kumar, one is Aruna. I think different names might be there. Whatever the value in here goes here. And according to that, different outputs are here. One thing you need to remember, this is the scope, guys. This is the scope. After this semicolon, after this colon, this is the scope. You can add any number of statements in here. Any number of statements can here within this scope. Now, what is at all? You don't want to add a lot of things in here and there. I mean, curly brackets or anything. Make sure to add break. Why? This is the end of this scope. This is the start of this scope. This is the end of this scope. For this case, for another case, this is the starting point and this is the ending point. All right. If not, what happens? There is no ending scope, so it flows until the last statement. Usually, we have opening curly brackets and ending curly brackets. This is the ending of this scope, and this is the opening parenthesis, and this is the ending parenthesis, and this is the start of the statement. This is the end of the statement. Similar, different kind of things are there. In the situation of switch, what we need to understand is this is the starting point and this is the ending point. During that, whatever the stuff statements that you can add in here. Okay, easy. This is the switch statement. There are a lot of things. I'll execute this one. So what happens here? This Kasun is assigned to this name variable. This name variable switched in here. Then what happens here? Program checks whether do have a name called Kasun, name called Saman, name called Kumaro, any other thing. If it is found, it's executing. As an example, in this situation, a name called Kasun, yes, perfectly I found there is a name called Kasun, then inside this statement, it's going to, inside this scope, it's going to execute. If this is Arun, then let's check Kasun. I don't have a Kasun, I don't have Saman, I don't have a Kumara, I do have Arun, so this is Arun, bad boy. Think we don't have any of these options to be switched, then we have a default case. Default means you don't have anything, you can go for anything in here. That means none of these statements are switched or connected to the value. So none of, as an example in here, given Caldera. Now Caldera is not in here. None of the values are here. So it goes to the default. This is the default case. Right? Right? DEFAULT. Right. Clear? You just execute, then you can get a value. No value in here. I'll give a value in here, Kumar boy, Saman boy. We'll add Kumar boy and Saman boy, right? We'll add Saman here, we'll get the value. Saman boy, if we add Kumar, then we can get Kumar assigned here, Kumar is in here, then Kumar statements are right. One is missing because Kumar boy, something gone wrong, Kumar and bad boy. The reason behind is we don't have a break statement in here. We don't have a break statement. That's it. We don't have an ending scope. So it goes until to the end of this switch statement. So we want to break it. Now, if we execute it, perfect, it stops in the block. Right. That's all that I need to discuss today. I believe you got some interesting information today, bit of practical aspects in Java language. You just experiment in your preferred language and your experimental language for the assessment, and you do very well in assessment and learn all of these things in your programming language, as well as you explore many things, right? So any questions, guys, to discuss a bit more further? Do you have any questions to discuss? No. All right, then if you don't have any questions, that's all for today. So we'll meet on Monday as discussed. Yeah, well, we'll discuss, we'll come to the, it's a physical session, so please attend to the lesson on 24th. We'll discuss some of the arrays in next class. That's all then. Have a nice day. See you. Bye-bye.